How's it going, folks? And welcome back to another Ranger Talk video. Today, I have a very, very special guest. It's none other than the incredibly talented and majestic Pete Rawcliffe. What's going on, man?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's been a long time coming, this chat. We were just saying like it's been nice to actually finally get the chance to catch up on like a live stream. Usually it's just messages or something like that.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's been really, really good. I'm really looking forward to getting into the nitty gritty and have a good chat with you today. Definitely.
absolutely. And just thank you so much for taking the time to have this chat. I just really, really appreciate it.
No, 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 anytime. The pleasure is all mine.
So, I guess first and foremost, I guess it just has to be asked is when did you first discover your love for singing, and
Yeah.
how did that kind of, how did that lead to you becoming the vocalist that you are today?
It's a really good question, actually. And it's really funny because recently we've just lost Tina Turner, right?
Yeah.
Like a legendary singer, someone that kind of really influenced me. In the early years of when I was growing up, my mum used to listen to her a lot. And River Deep Mountain High was one of the tracks that she did. And I remember, I must have been about 15, 16. I was at the top of my landing, and there's some pretty high notes in that song, and I just like went for it, and I thought, how can I do this? This is crazy. Like, this is mad. Standing there with my leg going like Tina, thinking that I was the next big thing on VH1 Divas. If you ever remember that? But yeah, it was kind of like this, this TV program. And that was kind of like my introduction to being able to sing in this particular way.
Mhm.
But my introduction to music as a whole started much before then, with the likes of Kate Bush, Sarah Brightman, Donna Summer, Celine Dion, Whitney Houston, like all of like the kind of really big female voices. My mum used to play them a lot, all the time, as well as like that theatrical style like Meatloaf, Iron Maiden, Metallica. Like, so that these juxtapositions of artists that she was into kind of reflects my my taste today, which is really, really interesting. So yeah, it's been a long kind of eclectic journey in terms of vocally for me, but I think that's very much my character today. Looking into that, so yeah, I think if I was to pin it down to a time when I started singing, it would have been from a really, really young age, like a really young age. I used to sing along to all of the big tunes, but to actually getting to understand my voice is around about 15 or 16.
Okay, cool. And when you did, were you able to just embrace that right away, or were you kind of like, should I go with this, or because it's a
Yeah.
little unorthodox. It's
Mm-hmm.
you don't hear that every
Yeah.
day, that style of voice. So was that difficult for you?
Massively, massively. It was really tough because at that sort of same time that I realized that my voice felt comfortable up in that register. I was a teenager going through adolescence in a different world that we live in today. Like, I'm 32, so we're going back 15 years, 16 years. And there was a lot of judgment. There was a lot of like, predispositions, beliefs on a high voice. It's quite feminine, blah, 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 all of those
Sure.
sorts of things. And at that same time, discovering that, I was kind of going through my musical theatre training. So I was doing dance, theatre, and voice, acting and voice. And I actually chose to sing in my chest voice, which, my male voice, if you like,
Gotcha.
because I felt like it would garner me less attention and I wouldn't be maybe so much judged on that. So yeah, I suppressed that voice for quite some time. And the only solitude I had realistically was in my own home, where I could kind of express and be free. Unfortunately, we lived in a fairly close-knit estate, and not everyone was as supportive of hearing me sing classical music, specifically Nightwish End of an Era, over and over and over again
Yeah.
in the evening. And yeah, there was a few funny stories around that. I think one time one of my neighbors actually phoned up a local radio station. They had a program on called Neighbors from Hell. They
Oh
said that
my
I
gosh,
was one of them.
no.
There was a letter for a sound ban sent to my address, and a fine of £10,000 if I continue to make this much noise. So I realized shortly on that I kind of had to find somewhere to express myself
Sure.
without pissing people off, shall we say. I'm now to
Yeah,
swear on that one, if not
ideally.
bleep me out. But yeah, that was kind of my journey. And it was unorthodox, you're right. Like, you know, it was a real tough one because I didn't know what the reaction was going to be. And even to this day, I still find it tough. I still think, oh, some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. Still receive a little bit of judgment, but not as much as I anticipated. So I just got to kind of suck it up and move on with it now. But yeah, it's taken me good 15 years to get to that point.
Wow. So yeah, eventually though, you just decided that this is how I feel comfortable singing, and this is just what I'm gonna do, for better or worse. Like, I don't, whatever people take it.
Yeah, you're right. So I kind of, it wasn't until maybe, I would say, 5 years ago that I actually started putting myself out there. So
Wow.
in terms of how recent it's been, it is fairly recent. You know, 5 years was probably the time that I posted my first video on Instagram and Facebook, with myself singing in that way. In fact, first video ever. I never even posted myself in my chest voice at all. But before that, it was kind of just behind closed doors. So, you know, I think, and I remember quite clearly, it was one of Marcella Bovio's tracks. And it was the first video I posted. I was like, oh no, you know, do I tag her in it? Like, what do I do? How do I do this? So I actually tagged her in it, you know, with just this video of me in my face, no music, just singing into the camera. And she took the video and she posted it on her page. And I was like, this is incredible. And I've had the utmost respect and support for that person for such a long time. Like, she's an incredible vocalist. And that's kind of my akin to Marcella. Like, I really, really respect her for that. But not only because she's an incredible vocalist, but because in my heart, she shared that video for the first time, the first video of me singing. And I thought, I can't believe this. This is crazy. And that's what was the catalyst for me to do more and more and more and more and more. But it was nerve-wracking, I must admit. It was really, really nerve-wracking. And you just don't know what you're going to get, you know, especially when it's that different. I think for anybody, when you're a vocalist, it's like laying your soul down on the line. It's a part of you. It's you know, an extension of your personality and the way that you feel. So, you know, any criticism, any judgment is very, very, very like precious to the individual. So yeah, you've got to learn to take it, but at the same time, it's hard.
Yeah, I bet. And but I mean, wow, that's one heck of a first video for.
Yeah, I was really, really happy with it. And I actually delete quite a lot of my old stuff. Like, as time goes on, you know, you look at things back and you think, oh, I could have done better there. I'm going to delete that and retry it, or I'm going to maybe remove that and keep it for myself for self-reflection. But it doesn't need to be online for everyone to see. But that video I kept. And I've kept that for me as a reminder that actually, do you know what, that was the first time you ever allowed yourself to be vulnerable as a singer and look at the results. So actually, do you know what, anything you do from this point onward is going to be a real good learning lesson for yourself. So yeah, like, I don't think I've ever shared that, which is strange because it's actually really pivotal to me, but there we go.
Yeah.
Got the scoop, man.
Yeah, look at that. That's awesome. But yeah, you know, you make a good point. You know, regardless of one's voice, just put yourself out there in general is just really, really difficult. But then especially if it's something that folks haven't really heard before. And so how would you describe your voice, like in the technical terms or whatnot?
Okay, yeah, so I'm actually a sopranist, which I don't mind people calling me a countertenor. That's fine. That's kind of the more common term for it. The best way for me to describe it, a countertenor is a man that sings high and sounds like a man singing high. A sopranist is a man singing high that has the tonal qualities of a female soprano or a mezzo-soprano. So if you were to close your eyes and listen to me sing, you'd probably think that I was a woman. Whereas if you close your eyes and listen to a man, a countertenor singing, you'd think, oh yeah, like, you know, it sounds a bit Bee Gees. It sounds kind of a little bit like a falsetto. I haven't got that twang to my voice. I've got a different sort of tone. You know, it's not to everyone's taste, but that's the terminology that I would use, a sopranist. But again, you know, a lot of people will say countertenor, and that's absolutely fine because we can get caught up in too much terminology, and it becomes too specific. But my range, it's equivalent to the female soprano in such. It goes up to an E6 all the way down into the third octave in my chest voice. So it's like, you know, like for like kind of soprano range, which makes sense. But yeah, that's the terminology for it.
Cool. Yeah, I've just kind of been curious that, you know, exactly, you know, how that would be. And it's interesting how you make that distinction between a male kind of just using falsetto type of voice.
Yeah.
you know. And so have you encountered anyone else with your type of voice, like in your travels? Like, is there anyone else that you've discovered?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in the classical industry, we as a countertenor, so pretend that I'm a countertenor and not a subsidiary of that at the
Okay.
moment. They're fairly common. You know, it's kind of the Baroque era, so a lot of Handel, a lot of Purcell, people like that. They would write for a countertenor that was derivative from the castrati. So, you know, thank God that doesn't happen nowadays, but back in the day, the young guys would have their testicles removed, which would stop their voice from breaking, and then they'd be able to sing high up until they died. But obviously, unfortunately, they wouldn't have any genitalia.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a very archaic term that no longer is used. So now, you know, you have just a countertenor, which is just a guy that is more comfortable singing up high, and they in classical music are fairly common. Still the least common of the voice types, but more common in classical music than they would be anywhere else in any other industry. So in, let's say, R&B, you would find a lot of high-voiced males that use a falsetto to embellish the songs, but the majority of the track is sung in chest voice. And even in metal, you kind of see that a little bit as well. You know, you find a lot of singers will use a mixed voice to kind of get that power metal sound up the top, you know, but that's mainly the falsetto jumping up, and it's got that twang on it. It's really ringy, like, you know, and that sounds great, but you can tell it's a falsetto. Whereas if I was to hit that note, it would sound a bit different. So they are still around, but in dribs and drabs within their own style, if that makes sense. So, you know, you would go into the falsetto rather than use it completely all the time. Whereas I would just use mine all the time. So it's not often I drop into my chest voice. But in the industry that we're in now, so we're talking about metal, I haven't found another singer like myself that does that. So, you know, I could be, I don't know, I could be the only countertenor or only sopranos in metal, but yeah, time will tell, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so I guess like you said, it'd be more common in the classical music kind of scene, and that makes sense actually. And then so I was gonna ask you too, you know, especially with your voice, what was it that drew you to the metal genre as opposed to maybe going into the classical or something like that?
Yes, that's a really good question as well. So a lot of people refer to me as an opera singer, and I completely shut that down instantly because I'm not an opera singer. I can sing in an operatic style and I can sing classically. I've been trained to do so, but to be an opera singer involves a massive amount of commitment and a massive amount of dedication, both of which I have not got. And I'll be really honest with you on that one. I eat what I want, I drink what I want. I behave the way I want to behave as a human being because I feel like life is too short. Whereas an opera singer dedicate their life to being in the opera, to be in the classical realms, and you know they have to have certain controls and training that they adhere to. I began that journey. I learned what I needed to learn from that kind of area of expertise. And then I decided I wanted more flexibility and freedom within my vocal kind of career, if you like. And the classical world doesn't really allow for that. It's very restrictive in terms of what you can and can't do. For example, I know a lot of singers in the industry, female singers in the industry, that are incredibly gifted opera singers, classical musicians that actually perform in opera. And the amount of judgment they receive for also singing in metal is high, and I'm not prepared to have that. I don't want to, and I'm certainly not interested in kind of, you know, changing my whole course of my career just to please some small-minded people in a certain industry. That's not
absolutely.
But with that being said, they are very, very talented, and the dedication that they have is absolutely incredible. So that's where, you know, my learning in the classical music kind of stopped. And, you know, at the same time as me realizing that perhaps that wasn't the avenue that I wanted to go down, I discovered bands like Nightwish. I discovered bands like Within Temptation, like Epica, and it introduced me to this whole new world. You know, I've grown up listening to that sort of singer with Iron Maiden as a band, and now all of a sudden I'm hearing them kind of come together. Like, what's all this about? And I think this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. And that, you know, that was a pivotal moment for me that I've never looked back from. I think that if it wasn't for seeing Nemo on, you know, a music TV channel in 2005, I definitely would not be where I am today. So yeah, huge moment.
Awesome. Yeah, and absolutely amazing song too. So
Yeah, a brilliant song, like
the
incredible. One of the staple symphonic metal pieces. So
yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that was actually the second Nightwish song I ever heard. The first
Oh,
one
really?
was I Wish I Had an Angel, which really kind of captured me too, that power. Yeah.
Did you know, I remember watching a film actually. I think it was Alone in the Dark, it was called. And I
Yes,
yeah, and it was actually on there. And I
it
was like,
was.
and I, you know, and I heard it, but you know, you don't kind of think about it at the time. And I was like, this is pretty decent. This is a jam. Like, I like this. And then like found Nemo and like solidified my you know, my interest in the band. But then
Yeah.
when I heard Wish I Had an Angel, I was like, yeah, I'm sure I've heard this before. Watched the film again and realized where it was from. But yeah, it was a good, well, it was okay film, but it was a good
I was
track.
gonna say,
Yeah. Film
well,
was a
now
bit
let's not
dodgy.
get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah. It was a bit dodgy, but there was some good moments in it, specifically the music. So
Yeah, no, I love me some Christian Slater, but you
yeah.
know, he couldn't even save that film.
Tara Reid, I mean, you know, I think she's good in some, maybe some, like, you know, American comedies, but that film was just a bit too far for
Yeah.
her.
But hey, we got some Nightwish love out of it.
We did,
So
yeah. I'm sure that they love being on a film, so
yeah, of being associated with that.
yeah,
But yeah,
definitely.
no, I mean exposure, you know, it's good
Yeah, of
stuff.
course. Yeah,
But
definitely.
at any point did you decide that you wanted to really kind of be in a band, and what was your first band? I know you're in Crown Solace
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
but were you in any bands prior to that?
No, that's been my first kind of taste of band life, shall we say. So
Mm,
I decided that the only, I mean, I live in the south of England, okay, and it's kind of the deep dark south, as you like, and there isn't that many metal bands, let alone symphonic metal bands, that my voice would be suitable for.
yeah.
So I realized that the only way really for me to kind of solidify myself as part of this industry was to work online and to do covers, to kind of get my name out there, to maybe create that point of difference and create a little bit of conversation. And you have to be clever with this sort of thing nowadays, because there are so many singers out there that really want to try and do well. And that's fantastic because everyone gets a shot at it. But also you don't want to get lost, you know, you don't want to get lost in kind of the, you know, the amount that's going on. So I thought, I'm going to really just try my hardest to be a little bit different. And you see all these like beautifully, really well done videos, and like they're so high tech. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. But I could also just sit on my kitchen side and just sing to you guys. And that's my point of difference. Like, it was going the opposite way. So I thought, I'm just going to sit on the kitchen and I'm just going to sing and I'm going to hope for the best. And it kind of worked. You know, I received lots of followers from the metal industry that wanted to see those kind of low key covers.
Yeah.
But nothing opportunity wise was presenting itself to me. And I was 28, 29 at the time. And I was like, right, I want to release something before I'm 30. I really want to. And I know, you know, Adrian Benegas, okay, and he's a great friend of mine. He's a really good friend of mine. And we become friends because I did a cover of one of his tracks. We got talking. Anyway, years down the line, we still chat. And
Incredible guy, yeah.
He's so good, and he's a
Yeah.
brilliant, brilliant friend, and he helped me so much. If it wasn't for him, you know, I wouldn't be sat here talking to you right now.
Wow.
And I said to him, I said, look, Adrian, I said, I want to release a song. I said, before I'm 30, it's not going to be a metal song because I want it to be something that I can release on my own. I don't want to involve any other collaborators apart from yourself. I said, but can you write me a song? And he's like, yeah, of course, like 100%. So he wrote me a song called Locked Away. I'm so proud of that song today. In fact, I still have this.
Oh, awesome.
I'm really, really proud of that track. And I'm so proud of the work we did together. And that was my first release. And I did it 3 months before I was 30. And I was so glad that I did it. I wanted to do it and I had to do it. So I set my mind to it. And off the back of that, I got a couple of different gigs, if you like, from it. So I got a place in the Golden World Archive, which is like a metal opera, and also some real chill out ambient stuff called A Better Life. And both of those things really pacified that part of my personality, like, you know, the heavy side and also really like chill out side. And from there, I just carried on creating my own videos as well as doing those guest projects. And I found, or I was found by Val from Crown Solace, ultimately come the end. And he said, look, we've just released one track with a singer who, you know, no longer wants to be with us. So we've got a vocalist spot available for you. Would you want to come and join our band? And I said, look, let's just kind of see how one track goes, and let's see whether or not I fit, you know, the style that you're after. So he sent me over a demo for Horizons. I did it. He was really happy with it. I was super, super happy with it. And yeah, Crown Solace with me in it was kind of created. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. And then obviously Urania Fantasia come off the back of that. Lots of other different projects. Some of them I can't quite mention just at the moment, but have come off the back of that. And I think slowly but surely I like to think I'm kind of solidifying myself within the genre. And getting my name out there a little bit more. Obviously, a long way to go yet. A long way to go yet. But yeah, you know, it's more than I ever thought I would do. So yeah, I've got to be happy with something, haven't I?
Yeah, no, I mean, it really
Yeah.
is cool. You know, I just enjoy seeing, even just in comments for some of the videos that you're in, or just your socials, like, you know, people seem really drawn to you, not only as a vocalist, but just as a person. You know, there's a genuine, you know, authenticity about you. And that makes me think of, you know, you just wanting to just sing there in the kitchen for the videos. That was what you wanted to do. And that reaches people, because again, like you said, you could just do some flashy like thing, but then like so many people are doing that, and things get lost in that. But you're just in there chilling in the kitchen, singing, and then so people are just hearing your voice. Like, this is your voice. Like, they know there's nothing else going on behind it. Like, it's just you, and it's raw. And I think people feel very connected to that sort of thing, almost like they're sitting in there and you're singing too.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for, you know, because that for me is what I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to sing to people. I still struggle with doing that live now, I very much so. You know, I used to do quite a lot of classical recitals, and I struggle massively with it. So, you know, for me to kind of have that really raw, exposed vulnerability, and share that online, unedited, unable to be edited, you know, it's just literally a track on a phone. It's part of the way that I felt like I could increase my confidence as well. So it was, you know, a double whammy. I'm managing to reach the people that like to listen to my stuff, but also increase the way that I felt about my voice. And I think that was so powerful, because I not only have these people that want to listen to me, I have to thank these people for enabling me to have the confidence to do what I'm doing. And that relationship is really, really strong. You know, and I don't think I would ever be without that. It's something that I will always continue to do, whether or not, you know, I perform in shows or over up and down the country, or whether I'm, you know, just sat in my kitchen. It's something I always want to do. I always want to share.
Awesome. Yeah, and so I want to talk about Crown Solace a little bit too. Is
cool.
It very heavy, you know. There's that real heaviness to the band, and there was some of that symphonic elements, and you know, they're a tough band to kind of just pin down to just like they're this, you know. And I think that works for you very well, because you're also tough to pin down, like, oh, just this, so. You know. So the two work really well together. And at first, when you first heard it, where you're like, well, this is a bit heavier than what I thought maybe I would be doing, but let me give it a go. Like,
yeah, definitely. I think I heard it and I thought, this has got metalcore elements in it, which I never thought I'd be on anything that had kind of a metalcore track. And I don't ever think that there's ever been that really direct crossover between symphonic and metalcore. I know that obviously like bands like Architects have done you know, live shows with orchestras and things like that, but as a full band, like, you know, does it work? Is it going to work? Like, are we able to kind of pull this off? And Val has got this really clear vision with Callum, and I think that for me, it works for my voice. It's not going to pacify everybody. It really isn't. It's quite niche. You know, some people that like symphonic music, like yourself, for example, prefer less screaming, and some people that like the screaming don't like the clean singing. So to bring those two together, it's like when two worlds kind of meet, which obviously, you know, it's been done before in the industry in certain aspects, but for us in the UK, it's kind of a more American feel with a European influence, if that makes sense. You know, it's a really, really weird way to describe it. But I did think to myself, this is heavy. This is really heavy. Did I expect it to be more orchestral? I think I probably did. But am I glad that it's not? Yeah, I am. Because I've got, other outlets like Uranium Fantasia, for example, which is extremely orchestral, that, I can draw in on that if I wanted to. So this is almost like creating kind of a new subgenre with, a male singer that sounds like a woman, a kind of metalcore with symphonic, a little bit of power metal in there as well. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, but also, like you said, I was a bit okay, this is heavy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really glad, and I think Callum and I do complement each other quite well vocally. It's not as if he is just one of those people that plays bass in the band that just happens to scream. He's an incredibly good screamer and good vocalist, good harsh vocalist. He's got so many different nuances and tones to his voice. He's not just someone that's like, well, he's got a good finesse. So, that style is great when we work together, and Val's compositions are fantastic anyway. I don't think the guy's ever written a bad song. Like, I listened to the track on the EP and I think every single one of these is really catchy. And although I write my own vocal melodies, the vocal melodies are only as good as the song that you're writing to. And, he kind of, he writes for my voice, and I think that's really, really great. So yeah, I'm so happy that we found each other and that we're able to continue to create music. And the first single was well received, so we didn't have to just bury our head in the sand and give up.
Cool. So you actually write the vocal melodies,
Yeah.
Is that something that you ever thought that you would do? Did you ever try to write your own songs in general?
Yeah. So I've never tried to write my own music, like in terms of from the start, creating chords and things like that. I think I might try one day, or like I would like to be part of that process. And actually, it was funny because Val phoned me the other night, and he was like, "Look, when we start creating new music, how about we do like a writing weekend or something? We go maybe and we write together, because we don't actually do that at the moment. Now it's kind of separate."
Sure.
And I thought to myself, I never thought about that in terms of, for me as an individual, would I be able to do it? But actually, it would be something that I'd like to try. So for now, it's always ever been lyrics and melody. And I'm really specific with when it comes to creating, like if somebody wants me on a guest track, I like to have autonomy and flexibility over my own melodies. I don't like to be governed by what somebody else is writing. Of course, if it's a paid gig and people are paying and they want it wrote a specific way, you have to kind of do it. Sure. But I would prefer to have a little bit of autonomy over my own vocal melodies. So yeah, that's about as much creating as I've done for the moment. But I would really like to maybe get involved with maybe just some chord progression and some, things like that. But I can't play an instrument, so it has to be done by ear. So you need a talented person with you to transpose it straight down onto paper. But yeah, it's a journey, isn't it? And it's something new to try. I think it's always good to challenge yourself and push yourself in the right direction.
Cool. Well, it's just really cool to know that you dictate a lot of the vocal melodies yourself and things like that. And that's really cool. And as far as writing a song without really playing an instrument, I think I read once that Michael Jackson would kind of sing some of the beats or the music of kind of what he wanted the song to be like, and then they would just kind of play it, so hey,
that's gonna be an idea. Yeah, that's exactly what I think I need to do. So I need to get someone with me with a pen and paper next to me and just write it down. And I think that's fantastic. I've got a piano to the side of me over there that I use for students when I'm giving them lessons, and that's really, really handy, just to kind of get some sort of tinkling away, and you think, oh, okay, these two go nicely together. Can I sing that? Can I add this on? And yeah, suddenly I lose myself and I'm like 10 notes deep, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I should have recorded that. But
it's like I cannot replicate.
You try your hardest. But yeah, no, it's definitely something that I would want to try in the future for sure.
Cool. And then you mentioned Urania Fantasia, and that song is again a very different kind of song, which is so cool. And you in that song are just match made in heaven. Like the two could not exist without the other. I firmly believe, like it's one of those things. And so what was it like when you first heard that and getting to sing on that
oh my god, so first off, and this is no disrespect to anybody that I've ever worked with at all, William knows my voice better than probably anybody that I've worked with, and he knows how to push me to the point where it sounds incredible. And I have not ever done anything as vocally diverse as that track, apart from maybe something that hasn't been released yet, which William also wrote. Yeah, I know. So you got a scoop. There might be another Urania song coming. Yeah, so that's
exciting.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's coming very, very shortly. And that is big. I mean, he just knows what to do. And I remember us having this conversation, and I was like, right, I've laid the vocals down for it. He was like, yeah, but you know, like there's space there. And I'm like, yeah, but that's all I want to do. And he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, but Will, that's all I want to do. And he's like, no, I want you to sing this. I think it was like a G5 or something. And I want you to hold it for as long as you can. And I was like, seriously? I was like, you want me to do? And he's like, yes. And if I didn't do that, that would have not made that song. And that song was, you know, that note in that song was kind of the staple piece. Is that really long one that I hold? And it's like, yeah, and
incredible.
And you know, he pushed me to do that because he knew that I could add something extra that even I didn't know that I could do. So yeah, he's just an incredible person. We're good friends, and he's a fantastic composer. But it is, like you said, totally different to Crown Solace. You know, it's orchestral. It's like kind of almost conceptual, I guess. It is conceptual, I suppose. But not only in the lyrics, but also in the sound. The sound takes you through a whole journey. So every track has, well, 2 tracks. the other one that hasn't come out will have a part of, you know, a journey that takes you on from start to finish. And I think that that's the beauty of those songs, that you can listen to them again and again and again, and use your own imagination to put yourself into the shoes of the character. And, you know, obviously, you know, the voice is amazing and the compositions are amazing, but also the way that you listen to it changes every single time, and it keeps it fresh. So I can go back to that song now and hear something that's completely different than before. So yeah, I really do love working on that project. It's fantastic. And I know that we've got so much more to come from it. But it's one of those things that we're so busy that it's not going to be like a release every month. It's going to be a big release, like, you know, intermittently when we can. But yeah, I really hope you enjoy that one when it comes out.
Well, I'm super looking forward to it, because the Arcane Muse is just gnarly, to say the least.
Yeah, it's got those prog elements in it, isn't it? Like, you know, like the prog.
It's all
stuff.
over.
Yeah,
and like you said, it's a grand journey, and then, you know, the vocally also just really makes it feel kind of ethereal and cosmic, and I mean, there's just so much to it. A lot of theater about it as well. You know, it's very theatrical. So
really good way to describe it, actually. Yeah, it's very theatrical. Theatrical metal. There we go.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to ask you about too, which is going a bit away from the whole singing thing and whatnot, but on the socials and stuff, you share a lot of things of, like, is it your backyard that is that beautiful garden? Like, is that yours?
Yeah, so we have just moved to a lovely place just outside of the city of Exeter in the southwest. And it's a little bit more rural, and it come with this incredibly established back garden and front garden. And it's just like vast, it's crazy. So didn't realize how much work was kind of involved with it, but so happy that we've got that work, you know. And of course, like, I'm such a massive animal lover that I had to start buying animals already.
Yeah.
So I've got a rabbit, a guinea pig, got 2 more rabbits on the way, got 2 cats. We actually, last night we sat down, and there was, we've got a pond in the back garden, and it's kind of full of fish. I noticed that there was like all these fish disappearing. I was like, 15 goldfish just don't disappear overnight. And sat eating dinner and seen this massive heron flying down into the garden and just literally taking a fish. I was like, you know, there's this kind of white, like, carp thing, carp or goldfish on the garden, running out, kind of putting it back into the pond. Thought, yeah, we got to net that up to stop the heron coming down. But that's how rural we are, you know. So it is beautiful here. It really, really is. And it's such a different vibe from living in the city. And I think that, you know, it's really helped my creative process as well, like just being out and kind of having nature all around me, having no neighbors to worry about, so I can sing as loud as I like, It's really good. Yeah, it was a move that had to happen, and I'm so glad it's happened. But yeah, my time is like literally constantly taken up by that back garden. And the thing is as well is that I enjoy it, so it's not like it's a chore. It's just I just don't find myself indoors at all at the moment, which is great.
Yeah, that's nice. No, when I first saw that on your socials, I was like, no, surely he's kidding. And he walked to like a park somewhere. Like, this is not his backyard. Like, this is insane. Like, how
Yeah.
gorgeous and like you said, vast it
Yeah,
is.
no, it is fast.
Incredible. Did you
Yeah.
do gardening or anything like that before, or did you kind of just jump head first into this?
It's a good question, actually, because I did do gardening before and I really fell out of love with it because I had this allotment that wasn't too far. Where we were before had a garden, but it wasn't anything like the size that we've got now. And so I decided that I wanted to grow veg because I thought of being self-sustainable, especially with food. I think, it's really nice to be able to grow your own things. It tastes better. It's good. So went to start this allotment up, which is maybe like 15 minutes from where I lived. And I work full time as well. Music isn't my full-time job. I teach music to people, and I also work full time. I'm a manager in retail, which shouldn't admit because I'm a heavy musician, but I am. That's life. We can't always make money from this.
No.
And I am busy a lot of the time. And we went to start this allotment up, and we got it in the neck by the people that run the allotments quite a lot because they were like, oh, you haven't cleared the weeds out of this section. And I just like, do you know what? It's off. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I fell out of love with it for about a year. And then when we moved here, there's a section of the garden that is completely concreted with raised beds and also like side beds to one side with a greenhouse. And I was like, yeah, okay, I need to start growing veg again. So the first thing I did before replacing any of the blinds in the house, before doing anything at all in the house, was go out and plant loads of seeds for the vegetable patch. That was literally the first thing. Nice. And I think that that just really symbolizes how much I love being outside. Like, the house is great. Like, we've done everything that we need to get done to it so far. Still lots to do, but we can close the curtains now, which is fantastic. It's become secondary to me planting cabbages and spring greens and things like that. So yeah, that just literally describes me as a person.
There you go. Vegetables before privacy. Yeah,
100%. Man's got to eat, right? So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you're a manager. You're probably the coolest manager like ever. So, do you like managing people? Do you like kind of running that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I've been doing it for a long time, and I have a lot of experience in like business and kind of business admin, retail admin, business intelligence and things like that, which I absolutely love. And managing people was a secondary focus to that for many, many years. As I've gotten a little bit older, I've realized that that's the primary focus, and then business is the secondary focus, because when you get your people to do the things that you need them to do, your business ticks over. And actually being invested in people is probably the most important part of my job right now. And it's not until I've maybe hit like 20, 28, 29 that I realized that was integral to kind of making anything work. And it transitions into like music, it transitions into teaching, it transitions into so many things. And I actually do a lot of therapy on the side as well. So transpersonal therapy. I don't know if you've heard of that type of counseling or psychotherapy, but it's a great way to understand people and work through trauma and things like that. Wow. And that comes in really handy when managing people, because of course, you can understand responses, you can look at transactional analyses and things like that, which is really important. But yeah, huge part of my life, understanding how we tick as human beings on this planet and the sort of things that we can do to improve our journey here. It's massively important to me.
That's awesome. So I guess you're pretty good at reading people as well.
I say so. Yeah, I say so. I'm one of those people that if I'm in the right setting, absolutely, but I also get really enthusiastic about anybody on face value. So, if someone is enjoying being around me, or if someone is enjoying what they're doing around me, that literally ignites passion in myself. So I don't read that person, I read the room around me, and I'm invested just as much as they are. I have a lot of people around me that have lots of different interests, and I could quite quickly spend time with them and adopt their interests as my own, because I see how wonderfully invested they are in those things.
Yeah.
So I do read people well, but I'm also very, very influenced by other people's personalities. I need to remember that.
You're
Because
kind
it's
of an
not always
yeah.
a good thing. It's not always a good thing.
Yeah, you're kind of an empath, just reading off
Yeah,
of
I think
the
so.
emotions people give off. But so I
Yeah,
guess all
definitely.
of that really translates well into your teaching with the students, because
Mhm,
not only are you
mhm.
listening to, I guess how they're singing, but also you're getting a good read of maybe how they're feeling and stuff. And does that give you a little more insight
Yeah.
into being able to steer them to where they need to be?
Massively. So I've studied vocal pedagogy for a long time, well, a long time, say for about 2-3 years now. So I haven't been teaching for that long, but I've been singing for a lot longer in terms of like, structured singing, bel
Yeah.
canto, still, complete vocal methods, those sorts of kind of teachings and learnings. And I thought to myself, I'd really like, with the skills that I have with people, I'd really like to be able to offer some sort of teaching to them. And I wouldn't say that I'm the most experienced teacher in the world, but what I do offer is that scientific side of teaching, as well as that more holistic approach that enables people to feel confident and to come over some boundaries that they might have around vocals and singing. Because a lot of the time I find and David Ackerson as well, he's a great vocal coach. I do a little bit with him. He specializes in releasing tension, and so he will agree with me that tension can be a big part of negativity within vocals. It can affect your voice quite a lot. And my approach on that is that sometimes when we're not confident and when we are trying to fight past barriers and traumas and blockages within ourselves, that actually that tension can creep in physically, and it can stop us from vocalizing, it can stop us from singing. So it's not just about teaching the voice for me, it's about overcoming those boundaries that allow us to sing with confidence and sing with purity. And I think that those two in tandem really work nicely. So if you were someone that wanted to learn specifically about voice, I would direct you to the right person. If you wanted to learn specifically about voice and a holistic approach, then I would be the person for you. If that makes sense. We're all
Yeah.
good at certain things, and I think that that's kind of my niche when it comes to teaching. I like to bring people forward with confidence and the ability to feel comfortable with their own voice, because I've been there. I've been there and done it. And I think that that's a real testimony to me and the way that I am, and I want to be able to share that with somebody else.
Very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so cool. And I guess my last question would be is, where would you like to I guess end up? Like what would your ideal like future be like? Would it be just doing music full time, or do you kind of like doing some of these other things in music part time, or
Yeah,
what would you like
I've
to
always been
do?
someone. Yeah, it's a really good question, because I don't often think about it, and I should probably think about it more. But I've always really enjoyed doing lots of different things. I have, but as time's gone on, I think for me, I would love to be able to do music full time. I would really love to. And we're part of like the Love Anarchy group, right? And that's something that we've discussed as a collective a few times. And I think that actually that's really important, to be able to actually admit that you would like to be self-sustainable from your passion. And however hard it may be to get there, I think that's still a goal of mine. How? I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to be a full-time touring musician.
Okay.
Why would I want to kind of be away from my garden for like 8 or 9 months of the year?
Yeah.
I think that that's I'm a bit of a home bird. However, I do love to guest on people's albums. I love to kind of be a session musician. So would teaching, a little bit of touring, a little bit of sessioning, that sort of thing for me would be absolutely perfect. I would love it. It's all centered around what I really enjoy. It allows me to be at home quite a lot, which I absolutely love, but it also allows me to keep doing what I love to do, and that's my passion. So I think actually, you making me think about that is a good thing, because it's not something I often think about. But that would be, where I'd want to be. I'd want to incorporate all of those things into a really nice pot that allows me to do what I love every single day of the week.
Cool. And one last question kind of
Yeah,
popped
of
in my
course.
head is, have you ever done like theater? Do you like the theatrical kind of production stuff? 'Cause I know you mentioned you did some of the classical things and this and that. Like, have you ever tried doing that, like a theatrical type of thing? Because maybe it's because the Arcane Muse just is so
Yeah,
theatrical. It's like
yeah.
you can almost envision a production or something going on. And
Yeah.
have you ever done anything like that?
So there's a couple of facets to that question. Actually, the first one is I recently, or I say recently, about a year ago, I'm really into anime. Like I love anime and kind of like animations of any sort, but specifically Japanese, obviously. And I was watching My Hero Academia, and I was like, I'm quite good at impressions. I'm not going to do any, so ask me.
So don't even bother.
I'm just
Okay.
cool. I'm quite good at impressions and like using my voice in other ways other than singing. So I thought I'd really like to get into like voice acting. That'd be
Yeah.
something I'd love to do. So I would like to try that in terms of like, acting with my voice. The problem with musical theatre, and I am so into musical theatre, I love it. I love singing all the big show tunes. I love the big hits. The problem with it is that my voice type hasn't got roles in musical theatre. So if I wanted to sing Memory from Cats, it's a woman's role. If I wanted to sing Phantom of the Opera, it's Christine Daae, it's a woman's role. So there's nothing I can do within the theatre world that would allow me to play a part because, I would be a man playing a woman, and that's kind of, it destroys the object. There's so many fantastic women out there that could do that role. Why would they want me to kind of do it? So as much as I would like to do that, I do feel that it's never going to be something that I'm able to do. With that being said, I did a couple of years back, I actually put together a repertoire and started rehearsing it for the roles I would never play, for example, and I was going to do a short tour around it. So it would be all of these female heavy lead roles that I would, so it'd be roles that I would never play. And I was going to take that on tour and do something with that. But life, got in the way. I haven't got the time. And to be honest with you, I would like my first touring experience to be with band, with Crown Solace. I would really love that. That would be kind of, the ice on the cake for me to have that first tour with them. So I'm going to put that on the back burner for now. But you never know, I might revisit it one day because I would really love to sing some of those songs live and maybe get them out there for people to hear.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, maybe one day, who knows?
Maybe one day. Maybe one day. You catch me in America, I'll come over to you guys.
Yeah, see you on Broadway.
Oh God, yeah, I love that. That'd be fantastic.
That'd be crazy. But Crown Solace first, and
definitely
else after.
Definitely.
But all good things, I imagine. I mean, you're doing so many incredible things right now. It's just so impressive. And it's so cool to see you out there, and you've put yourself out there, and I think that's inspiring for other folks to see, people putting themselves out there, whether they're similar to them or different, but you just see someone being who they are out there. It speaks volumes, and it's encouraging for a lot of people. So
yeah, thanks, man. That's really nice to hear.
And all your projects are super cool. So you pick wisely. You pick.
I hope so. I hope so. There's one actually coming out. It's called Nightfall. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's with a great guy from the US called Keith. I'm not going to try and pronounce his second name because I'm going to get it wrong. But it's with Stephanie Keogh, who was
nice.
Guard. Yeah, so me and Stephanie are good friends, which is so great for us to kind of be in a project together because we've been wanting to do that for quite some time. And he's written this incredible power metal album that has lots of like chanting choruses and kind of like really. So I think you'd be really keen to hear that. It's still in progress, but someday soon it'll be out, and you might get a chance to react to it. You never know.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, no, I actually started following them on Instagram because I think I saw you make a post about you and Stephanie, being part of this project, and I was like, this sounds like something I need to follow and keep up with. So yeah, I started following
nice.
The gentleman, I think, because it's one fella, if I'm not mistaken, right? Where he kind of puts it all together. And
yeah, I think there's a second guy, but I think Keith was telling me that he doesn't really, he puts his name to it, obviously, but it's more Keith kind of like running the show.
Yeah.
But they've worked together in a previous band before, and they both go with the compositions together and the musicianship together. But yeah, it's mainly kind of Keith's project. And there's a couple of other guests vocalists and guest musicians involved.
Cool.
So yeah, it's going to be really good. It's going to be
Awesome.
really, really good. Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Lots of things to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're a fan of Pete Rawcliffe, which I don't know who isn't. Like, well, how could you not be?
Oh,
I mean,
there's
the
a
guy
few people,
rocks.
mate. There's a few
Well,
people, let me tell you, personal and professional.
Well, everybody grab your torches and pitchbits because
Yeah,
we're going out. We're knocking on people's doors tonight. But yeah, dude, thank you so much for chatting with me. This was an absolute blast. Really enjoyed it. So I appreciate your time so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing to chat, and yeah, it's just been good to laugh. So yeah, thanks.
No, of course, yeah, and everybody out there, thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna put everything Pete Rawcliffe in the description below, social media stuff, links to some songs like the Arcane Muse and with his band Crown Solace and things like that, as well as I'll put the socials for Crown Solace and Urania Fantasia and all that stuff in the description below as well. But so you can follow Pete, you can see his awesome garden, you know, if you follow him on socials, and it's awesome, truly. Yeah, so follow him, see everything that he's doing, keep track with all that, stay up to date, all that good stuff. And one last time, thank you, sir. Truly, really, really appreciate it. Best of luck to you in everything that you're doing. And yeah.
Same goes, man. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you again, everyone out there, for watching. And I'll catch you all next time. Ranger.
Cheers.
Out.